Hey, everybody. Today we've got the lovely Bobby and Kristen joining us to tell their story. Thank you guys for joining us.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, y'all look lovely, so I had to make sure to wear my three-piece suit because I had to at least try to keep up with you guys. So you look fantastic. Thank you for joining us. And we want to hear your story. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say most people don't know about functional medicine, including some family members of mine, and that's my family. And you guys have a wonderful journey into functional medicine. You've now been my patient for 5 years. Yeah,
That's right.
flying by. And so you're at the perfect moment in your story where you didn't know about functional medicine before, you do now, and I'm doing too much talking. So I would like to start this podcast with it includes both of you guys. Both of you are my patient, of course. So I would like, before you jump into the whole functional medicine thing, like what was your life like before functional medicine, before coming to see us? What was life like? What were you doing? What had you done?
I have to say that I kind of started.
He's taking credit.
Yeah. Okay. So it started back with my grandfather dying of heart disease,
Okay.
and relatively young man. We're in 70,
Yeah.
and
I like that you call that young.
yeah, right, especially that 60, yeah, close to that. And so, and my father, he had a bypass when he was about my age, and then of course we were just so grateful for the invention of the statins and for the stents and running your sleep because I kind of resigned to the fact that our family, the boys in our family, just at a certain point in time got heart disease.
It's just what happened.
That just happened. Like you just
Yeah.
be kind of matured into it. And that's something we just had to be reactionary to what had happened and all these things that, between the statins and between the stents and the bypasses and that was a foregone conclusion.
Mhm.
Well, what kind of changed was that I had three sons.
Mm.
And
So
so
way to pass on the male propagation.
yeah. So like and Kristen that was absolutely key to what had happened and how we got here. But what I wanted was to crack the code.
Mhm.
Like because I have these three wonderful boys and I don't want them to have to go through this stuff and realize that you're not going to really experience the fourth quarter in life because you're going to have heart disease.
Yeah.
And if you do, you're going to have constantly be nervous about a stroke or whatever.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get to the bottom of it, and but I didn't realize I wanted to get to the bottom of it until Kristen really had her mishap.
Mm.
So this was about
2015.
was it 20 so about 10 years ago. So we were we're not big bicyclists, okay? We're not big bicyclists, all right. And I wish I could show you some before and pictures of me before and after, but that's really somewhat insignificant because you can look good and not be healthy.
I'll have that. I mean, I will say that was me when I was 32. I looked good. I was very inflamed,
Yeah,
self
exactly.
proclaimed looking good. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the way I was and everything. So we decided we're gonna go biking, and it had been raining. Like
They were a couple days. Like it was like torrential rains for
yeah,
yeah. It was a whole week that it rained.
and so we're riding a bike, and we're going across this by this road that had a
So you
sidewalk.
don't normally ride bikes, but you decide after a torrential rain that that's when you're going to do
it
it.
smart. And so we're riding on the sidewalk, which I don't know if you're supposed to or not. Anyway, so we're riding on the sidewalk, and we come to this hurry.
Busy.
Uh-huh.
It's this one area where there was a mud wash across the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And I just saw it. I turned the corner, and I just went sideways. And this, I mean, she unfortunately didn't make it, and she kind of rolled over into the muckety muck.
I landed directly on my knee. All my entire body weight went down on my knee in this stagnant, muddy water.
Yummy.
And we go to Mexico the next day.
Well, just like coincidence, yeah, we had
Yeah.
a trip planned.
And luckily it was a quick trip, but
And you can't not go.
right. And so here we are, Mexico, and I noticed when we get to even right after it happened, I was like, this is not normal because it looked like, road rash, but it was
You were pants at the beach.
yeah, but it was red and swollen. And I was kind of paying attention to it because I could tell it was not normal. And my mother, unfortunately, had a host of all sorts of health issues, and cellulitis was one of them.
So you already know about it.
I was very concerned.
Mhm.
And so I kept watching it, and it.
But didn't you not tell Bobby or something as part of the story?
I had to at some point. Because,
I just thought it was a Easter. I didn't remember what it was.
Yeah.
It was growing.
yeah. And I
Literally.
waited
It was.
a couple days before I was like, hey, this could be bad. And he's like, well, I don't have the doctor come out. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. He's like, we can go to the hospital. I was like, no,
Mexico.
I'm going to go home. I'm
Uh-huh.
fine. And that Monday,
I remember it was not
Us-
going to Mexico. Remember we traced the
yeah, I outlined it to watch it and you see what's growing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, great, my shoes. I'm like, but it,
and it outgrew the
Yeah.
mat, and it kept on getting bigger and bigger.
I don't think you get 50% off when you only buy one shoe, by the way.
really hope it
Yeah, and then maybe you haven't buy the pairs.
But yeah, that Monday, so I would say we went Thursday. By that Monday, I was in the hospital. It was 3 days. And I was being pumped full, 3 heavy antibiotics. You know what traditional doctors don't tell you is, hey, you should be taking probiotics,
Yeah.
and this is going to run your gut.
Yeah.
It totally ruined me. I mean, not that I was in the best health before, but that was noticeable.
change.
Gosh, major noticeable change because I couldn't lose weight. Chronic fatigue, could not get out of bed without Adderall. I could.
Wow.
I mean, it was. I didn't understand what was going on,
Yeah.
and
Now, this started 2015. You guys didn't come to see me until 2020. So this story goes on for a while then.
Well, then what happened is that Kristen got better. We met with the infectious
Mhm.
disease doctor, and you got I should say that the scrape got better,
Yeah.
but at the same time, her gut got completely destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Now because of all the heavy duty antibiotics that you were taking, and so she thought that she had candida, and so you're really going down that path and had people that specialized in candida, and so you saw what, a couple people,
Yeah.
a couple different.
saw actual doctors, and they say candida is not a real thing. It's a fake thing. So I started seeing naturopaths. Well, that's
It is real.
Just- yeah.
yeah.
I'm not pushing that, not a question, right?
Right.
Bigger picture.
Right. We're getting there.
So then started seeing naturopaths. Well, they're starting to do energy over my body.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm getting better. Am I?
Yeah.
And then that's kind of just digging and digging until we found what we thought was a good doctor because we did. You were at Cooper, and then we found another concierge doctor in South Lake, and that's when you got on double statins.
Okay, well, let's go back and let's go. So
Yeah.
now you see that. Okay, so we're in 2015,
Yeah.
and Kristen has this candida issue
Mhm.
with the antibiotics, with this growth on her leg and everything had that this becoming a bigger problem. And so back to me, um, I was on statins, and my cholesterol had reached a certain level that they decided that you need to double your statins. And so I, of course, good soldier,
Mhm.
I just took my double statins.
And you were a chubby boy this time, right?
yeah,
Look at that. Nobody knows.
I was like 230s or something.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it definitely was not healthy.
Uh-huh. And you look fantastic right now.
Thank you,
Yeah, yeah.
thank you.
Just had to make sure people watching the video were like, why is he on statin? No.
Yeah, so like they doubled my statins, and what happened was shortly thereafter, I got frozen shoulder.
Oh, that's the worst.
And I know there's worse things to
Yeah.
happen, but it was like
That's a bad one.
it was because you can't sleep, you can't get comfortable, you can't. I mean, it was just such. And I was a pitcher,
No one like
and so and very athletic and like doing athletic things, especially with boys and
Yeah.
doing things and so it was so painful. Just I couldn't roll a ball. We have a dog, and I was trying to throw the.
You have a dog. You have a horse.
Yeah, big ball. Great. And like so, like, but I couldn't do anything. It was just constant pain, and people you had thought, and other people were questioning whether or not I had cancer.
Yeah, because your skin was gray.
I started turning.
Hey, Robbie, be careful when you turn to the side. We can barely hear you.
Okay,
So you talk to the side.
I won't
towards
talk
Kristen.
outside, my man.
Yeah. And you can move it towards Kristen. If you
And so so what happened was I realized that she showed me this. She showed me this. I went to see a shoulder doctor, and the
Oh,
shoulder
boy.
doctor said there was nothing that they could do.
Yeah.
And then specialists, and I found that very hard to believe. I said, "Well, just cut on it, and just get rid of it." But then Kristen showed me this article that showed that possible side effect of statins was from the shoulder, and my shoulders.
Also, a list of other things, right?
But I stopped taking statins like that day, that moment,
Yeah.
and within 30 days, it was just completely gone.
Wow.
And I'm not saying it's for it. I'm not.
No, it may not be for everybody.
This is
but-
just me, and
No, I'll
that's what happened with me. And so that fixed me. So that kind of opened my eyes to, well, this medication. The side effect was the frozen shoulder and was the grayish appearance, and
Oh, yeah, that's right. The grayish appearance. Yeah.
I just didn't look healthy.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, and of course, when with my insides being what they were, I mean, I wasn't thinking right. I mean, because the blood and everything was just not, I wasn't as healthy as I could be in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
And so that was about,
How your doctor you were.
it's true. It's true.
Your numbers look great. You might feel like death, but your numbers look great.
Exactly. And that's kind of the thing that with my father too, my father who's he is still alive. He's 85 and he's had, I think, a handful of stents. He's had a bypass and he has extremely low cholesterol, and they just gave him another stent and he needs another one.
And that's the amazing part. Like they make it sound like statins work for everything, yet here they are still getting stents, still getting bypasses while on the statin. Like if it's so great, why are we still having to do all this?
And with ridiculous low cholesterol. I mean, like a ridiculous low cholesterol. And he brags about it, but then at the same time, well, I got another stint coming. But it's like, it's a very frustrating thing. So back to Kristen. So both these things kind of coincided at the same time, this pressure, because I wasn't feeling well.
Right.
And you could see from what she was saying from the,
Barely functioning. Barely. And it was just from my upbringing with my mom's health issues, I was like, something's not adding up.
Yeah.
It's just my solution is not in the bottom of a pill.
Yeah.
It just I had to keep digging.
and so, so then we were used to from having some sort of specialized like concierge care and that kind of thing with a relationship with a physician, and we had dated a few different physicians.
Dang, you don't like that.
It's trying to just find that relationship that you just find that
Yeah.
that with everything.
It's a partnership. I think dating and marriage is a very real thing. Like it's a partnership.
It is.
We're supposed to be a partnership.
And we were both at the point that we knew that it was time for a change, and not just a diet,
Yeah.
not just adding supplements or this, whatever. We just needed a philosophy that we believed in and about health and mental, spiritual, physical, I mean, all the aspects of life and everything. And that's what it took, I think, because we both, when we finally, tell how did you find Dr. U?
Yeah. I don't remember. That was a while ago.
From kissing a few frogs, honestly. But very specific once we got here from Dallas Fort Worth that, from having, what are they called? OD, the one,
DOs, yeah. Dr. Osteopathy.
yeah. And not wanting an actual MD, I was like, okay, I want a very specific functional medicine MD.
Yeah.
And because you see both sides of it, you see the science and you see what actually works for the human body.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of digging because I think we've gone through 2 other doctors, and I, by the grace of God, came across you on Google, and I was telling him, I was like, it's say it, but I mean, it's expensive for what it is.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's not something that insurance covers. It doesn't
cover it. Yeah.
But and so I talked to him about it, and he's like, well, I mean, what else do we have to lose? So
Were you specifically looking for functional medicine at that time, or did you know what functional medicine was?
I knew of functional medicine.
Yeah, that's a good question too. What do we call it? What's the difference between integrative and holistic and all that? It's very confusing out there. It's the Wild West, and 10 people can call themselves functional medicine, and you can get 10 completely different experiences, like energy work and stuff. And not to say that's not real. It's not what we do necessarily. So yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and it was just kind of a, from there, we met you, and it was just kind of, it felt, walking into the office was a big factor.
Well, that's because it was still under construction when y'all walked in. I think you remember. We had just moved in, I think, right before you guys came.
Was at that time.
In the middle of COVID, us trying to move, you guys trying to show up. Because it was like May or June, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the lease started in February. I don't think we got our certificate until like April because of all the COVID nonsense in March. So you guys must have still seen furniture and boxes and stuff when you showed up.
Yeah.
It was. Because I remember, because like when I went to my other physicals, I'd get like an annual physical. We go over the blood work,
Quote unquote
that
physical.
physical, yeah, and they tap your knee, and then like I said,
Yeah.
around treadmill and all that stuff, and this, oh, you're great and everything, but I didn't feel great. I didn't.
Mhm.
I knew that there was something that was an underlying problem that wasn't being addressed,
Mhm.
and so I mean, my energy, of course, we're all could use more energy,
Always.
just like more better sleep, that kind of thing, but I just wasn't getting there. And then with you, it just opened a whole new perspective. Like, so when we, and I'm sure you want to talk about this, but one thing that was a big aha moment for me, a couple things, as a matter of fact, when we first started talking with you and speaking
Mhm.
with you, it wasn't just about the blood work.
Mm.
No, it was about what our heavy metals were like. What was our situation right there? What is our digestive? What is our gut like? And like what you said,
You just made Ceresa's day.
it's like, yeah, like exactly. It's like what you were saying is that no, it's you might have said it before or I heard from you, but like our gut is like the Amazon forest, and with all these beautiful, greenery, and then it's got to be just such
Mhm.
an environment that just so it just absorbs and knows what to do and whatever.
And complex, and one thing leans on the next. The bugs are the food for the birds, and the birds are pooping, fertilizing the soil, and the mold is digesting. I shouldn't say mold. The fungus is digesting the plants and things. Mold is a good thing when not growing in your house. Yeah,
outside.
it's all complex.
And you can't, there's nothing you can do. I mean, you can't feel good
Mm.
if you're not processing the food or
Mm.
whatever your gut is not operating properly. So we became a believers like, holy cow, everything's controlled by the gut. Yeah. It
Mhm.
all starts with the gut.
You connected all the dots and made it all make sense for us. And it was because the DO that I had, she, had mentioned heavy metals to me, but she's like, yeah, just take these cilantro supplements. I
Mhm.
mean, that wasn't really a thing. It's not like she tested me for what my heavy metals were.
Right.
And it wasn't until you had said, mentioned that with the chelation and everything. And within 8 infusions for me, everything was gone.
Game changer.
All of it.
If I could go back, I think that would be one of the take home messages I would love anyone listening to hear is that functional medicine is supposed to make sense. There's all kinds of wackadoo stuff out there that we do that sometimes doesn't make sense. And I'll keep picking on energy work since you mentioned that earlier. But in general, the biochemistry should make sense of what you're doing. And if your practitioner or doctor can't connect the dots and make sense of it, then why are you with that person? That person may not fully understand it. And we definitely don't fully understand everything. Do not misunderstand that. But I like that you guys said that. Like when we explain something of how the gut does what it does, it shouldn't just be, yeah, that's just how it works. Like, no, there should be some dots that should connect to the ether. You have to make a couple leaps of faith, but it should kind of make sense. So yeah, and then testing is probably the other second part I'd like to say, because once again, the functional medicine wild west, people can tell you have parasites and stuff. And we had a recent patient, I roll my eyes every time it's parasites because I had a patient of mine say, oh, this practitioner wants to treat me with parasites, and they're doing chelation at our office, and so they wanted to make sure that none of the parasite regimen interfered with the chelation, which it doesn't. But this practitioner put them on 3 different medications for parasites. First of all, if you know what parasite it is, there's a drug for that. You don't need 3 different ones. So that already tells you, like, well, do they even know what they're treating? Number two, there's a test for that. If you are throwing 3 drugs at it, that means you don't know what parasite it is. You haven't tested or haven't found it in a test. So what the hell are you treating? Just because that resonates with you that you think you have a parasite is not like, luckily in science and functional medicine, where we're at right now, anything I want to diagnose you with, I literally have a test to prove myself right or wrong. And I should be able to show you that test, and it should make sense. And then the treatment should make sense. And then you should feel better with the treatment. Otherwise, what the hell are we doing? So, anyway, I didn't mean to steal the microphone.
No, you're right. And one
Back to our regularly programmed show.
no, you're exactly right. And the one thing that we didn't want to be hostage to are prescriptions.
Every.
And that's the thing that, and it's frustrating because when you do get a prescription, you go to the whatever you go to store, and you just see the stacks and the stacks of
Mhm.
prescriptions. We're not heading in the right direction.
No.
People aren't getting healthier,
No.
and it's not seem to work. And I'm not saying that prescriptions are bad. I'm not saying
No, they're useful. They're needed at times.
but
Correct.
in my opinion, I think that we might be overprescribing. Or not.
might. We're prescribing more and more, dying earlier and earlier, sicker sooner and sooner. So that's
So-
fact.
And so that's the one thing is that I wanted to see, okay, can we address my situations, my particular ones and hers, through diet, through food, through better decisions, through, through supplementation. I mean, through mental imagery, through things that are going to be more powerful for me as a person, grow as a person, as opposed to, a prescription for this to fix this, and then of course then another prescription to cough, for this off side effect for this, and I go, well, I can't sleep, and here's another thing, and a half for it. So we've been down that path, and we sleep better, we're healthier, we're more active, we look healthier, we think better because
Yeah, spoiler alert.
it is.
Y'all are 5 years older and feel better than you did before that.
And I'm going to say something kind of bold here is that I feel like that I am healthier than I've ever been in my life. I mean, I've been in better shape when I was 18. As far as overall healthy and like, the way that my gut is and the way that I am and my energy, I would say that at 60 years old, I am healthier than I've ever been.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, I had a
We're gonna frame
question
that.
for you, Kristen. He mentioned that you guys sort of made that connection of you needed to put sort of, we don't use the diet word. We
Yeah,
like
the
to
D
say-
word.
yeah,
It's
we
a
like to
four-letter
say
word.
Food plan. So tell me how you guys, when you got here, what kind of shifts did you make in your food plan that really resonated with you guys?
The biggest one, because I mean, you can read all you want, doctors tell you things, and because when he was speaking, I was thinking about how we've done everything from paleo to Mediterranean and awful no sugar diet, which no one should ever have to.
Oh boy.
Terrible.
Do low sodiums too.
Oh, God.
wow.
Tasteless food.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I'm so grateful for that we found you guys is because even if we had all that, it wouldn't have worked
Yeah.
had we not known about the gut, had we not known about the heavy metals.
Yeah.
That's the component that was missing.
Suffering without benefit.
Yeah.
It's called torture.
Yeah. And so it was like, this light bulb went off. And, for me, it was literally my 8th infusion that it was like, I will listen to anything Doctor is. I mean, it was just like, whatever you want me to take, I'll take it. I mean, it just, because it worked.
That was one of my questions. What was the light bulb moment? It sounds like that 8th infusion was kind of the, okay, this is real.
Yeah, because it literally went from, because I would go to the gym and I had a trainer and she knew about Candida, and some other trainers would thought I was just being weak. And so she was trying to work with me, but within, like when you do a set of 3, when I would do my first set, then in the middle of my second set, I would have muscle failure. I fatigue, not like your ring was. It hurts. It could not lift.
Would weight. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Yeah, they were treating like you had a mental
Yeah,
weakness,
like I was-
when you're mentally weak.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that just no. So, so I was like, that something's wrong with that. And I couldn't lose. I had about 15 pounds on me. That nothing would change. And after my 8th infusion, all of a sudden, I have muscle mass. I'm able to gain muscle mass, and I can go even further than I mentally thought possible
Yeah.
with exertion. And it was just like, this is what feeling good's supposed to be like.
This is what other people feel like on a regular basis?
Yeah, it was literally like being born.
Yeah.
And for the first time, I'm actually experiencing what it is to be alive.
Mhm.
Wow.
So,
And these were the chelation infusions, right? For heavy metals?
yes.
Okay, so we'll get more into that. Good.
So,
So, Bobby, and I want to backtrack a little bit in a second, but what was, since we're talking about light bulb moments, what was your light bulb moment where you're like, okay, this crazy doctor is not just drawing tubes and tubes of blood and asking me to change nutrition and swallow all these dang pills? What was your light bulb moment with like, okay, this is actually working. I've done the work and now I feel the benefits.
Two things.
Yeah.
First thing was my cognizance, my memory.
Really?
Back in, she's not like.
All of a sudden, I didn't have to nag him nearly as much anymore.
That's not him. I do that. Let me take out a garbage. But like I would start remembering things that were long gone.
Really?
Then and
That's
like in
cool.
talking with people, sometimes when you're saying, I can't remember what I was talking about. I would have those moments more frequently, and like, oh, excuse me, I forgot. What was I saying?
Mm-hmm.
Those are
Mid-sentence.
mid-sentence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I say, oh, ADD or whatever. Sure, I
Right.
need off the charts. But, but at the same time, I was able to get more focus. I was able to get more recollection and that kind of thing. So that was kind of more of a soft thing. That wasn't like I surprised myself. And once in a while, I'd remember someone's dog from like 8th grade.
Yeah.
Remember that, well, whatever. But
How long did that take? 6 months, a year?
it was gradual. I would say it probably took
within the first year.
I would say that's good. That's a good.
Yeah.
Because that's another important part for people to know in functional medicine. People are used to a pill for every ill. Hey, I got heartburn. Here's your drug. And it works pretty quickly. That's what the pharmaceutical company wants you to know. But fixing the reflux takes longer. And so brain fog and early sign of dementia, in my opinion, it didn't start overnight and it doesn't take nearly as long, luckily, to reverse it. But it is reversible, but you got to put the hard work in. You got to believe it before you get there. So I think that's another thing I want people to hear is you got to do the hard work before you feel the benefits, and it's not easy.
But a lot of it's like like you said, it's like going to the gym and going on the treadmill. You may not see any results for a couple of weeks,
Right.
until you're like, oh wait, I feel a little better here.
Right.
But it was the same. It was a gradual thing for me, and
Sure.
and I was like, I would surprise myself with like, and I guess I had the awareness to know that I remember that.
Yeah.
Kind of like a double thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, I'm surprised I remember.
Still in there.
The second thing was, and I'm sure we'll get into later, but was just a slap in the face realization was because I'm sure we'll get into it. I have hard plaque,
Mhm.
and I've got a lot of hard plaque,
Mhm.
and because remember I thought that we get
Yeah.
an age we get hard plaque, and my first it's called
The carotid ultrasound, the CIMT.
my first one had a whole bunch of soft plaque.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously very dangerous, but
Yep.
the heart plaque.
Yep.
The last two tests that I have for the carotid artery test, no soft plaque.
Isn't that crazy? And most people listening don't know. Hard plaque sounds worse. Soft plaque is more dangerous, as you said. Hard plaque is the final consequence of soft plaque that doesn't reverse. And hard plaque will eventually cause problems, but soft plaque is much more dangerous. So we consider hard plaque further along the diagram. It's safer, but no plaque is the best. So yeah, soft plaque is the most dangerous. And as you said, it's reversed.
It's reversed.
And most people if any doctor is watching this, is still, no one's proven that that's possible in realistic scientific studies. I shouldn't say no. And I think Ornish did in the Forks Over Knives, the China study proved some atherosclerosis reversal with extreme dieting. And you guys didn't have to do extreme dieting to get there. And so we've proven it numerous times with multiple patients, including you guys, of plaque reversal. And we continue to see things that we didn't think was possible. We have our first and second, I think, hard plaque reversal. And I still don't promise that to patients, but I tell them it's possible. I have 2 patients that have done it thus far. You might be the third.
Well, I'm counting on it.
Sorry, you're still here.
I'm not stopping. But it was an amazing moment just looking at the results of that test. Then my soft plaque was gone.
Issue and all the doctors, every single doctor you ever had said it's impossible.
Yep.
Mm.
Yep. This is just going to continue to get worse, and then you die.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, but good that you have stents.
Right.
Taking your statins.
Right.
And that's
Well, they'll cook you differently.
Oh yeah, of course.
Can't believe that.
Shocker.
Yeah. So that was our.
Okay, so that's a great place to specifically say. So you guys came to us doing our executive physical program, which I try to tell as many people as possible is more extensive than anywhere else. And y'all you mentioned Cooper Clinic, and Cooper Clinic is one of those places around town in Dallas that does the executive physical. Tell people about the experience difference between the Cooper Clinic executive physical and what you did with us executive physical.
Do you want to do?
You started with Cooper, but I'll give you my take on it.
Go ahead.
Because I think I'd only been at Cooper twice, maybe. I think you'd been there for like 14 years. And so it's like, I'm about stress tests. Like, oh my God, can I do this? But basically, it's a really expensive way to do exactly what they do at a typical general practitioner place, where it's like, oh, okay, well, here's your labs, and here's, take some vitamin D and along with these 3 other prescriptions.
Yeah.
And here's a couple of vaccines along with it.
Yeah.
It just felt very sterile.
Pretty bow on conventional medicine.
It was very, very sterile. They didn't really, it wasn't it's not an ad for Cooper. There's no love. There is no true care. And coming here, it's like, it was surprising because it was like, I didn't know this existed. It was like funding paradise.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds,
Now, I always think of it like the slide the window when you walk in, like, who are you here to see? What's your sign in right there? Slide the window back. And that was one of my main focuses when we were moving locations. Like, I don't want to take over a doctor's office because they're terrible. I wanted an open space. You walk in and you're among friends. Here you are. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the tribe.
This is exactly how it feels here.
Yeah.
I
Good.
mean, because the mission, and even after my appointments, I think we hang out here for at least 20 minutes after.
That's because Shanna won't stop talking.
But it's like Shanna and Arlinda, I mean, the whole staff, they treat you like family.
Very warm.
It feels like family here.
Yeah.
Well, my you're right. I was over at Cooper Clinic, and Cooper's great. Cooper's
Yeah.
they took a child and a bad deal. But okay, so my comparison between you and Cooper, and once again, I was Cooper probably about 15 years or so, and I had the concierge program. I think they call it Platinum Plan, whatever. And it's good for a certain amount of digging. So the difference is that if you were to dig, say at 100%, they dig about 75%, maybe 65%. And so, and if you have something that is life threatening, then you can get immediate attention, and
Absolutely.
obviously they'll take you to the
Yeah.
ambulance and take you to the
Yeah.
hospital.
Whenever we demonize conventional medicine, hospitals need to exist.
Exactly.
Antibiotics need to exist.
So and so like, there's some things like, oh, we do. I'm sure there's a lot of people that
Need.
we're clinic and whatever.
Yeah.
My criticism would be that you just don't go any further. You don't dig any further. Like, okay, like what we talked about earlier was that, my grandfather died of heart disease. My dad has tremendous amount of heart disease. I got heart disease. I have 3 boys. How can I crack the code? What can I do? I could not find a solution with Cooper Clinic. I couldn't get there with them. Even
We call it, they don't do preventative medicine. They call it preventive medicine, but they're not preventive medicine. They're early detection. They're finding problems early, which is better than not finding them, but they're not giving you a solution to prevent the problem from ever occurring. So that's one of my pet peeves in conventional medicine. They call it preventive medicine, giving you a vaccine so you never get that disease. Like, okay, that's great. But how about we restore our immune system so that if we do get that disease, we're fine. So that's my big beef. Yeah. Early diagnosis.
And you're also kind of like led to believe that vaccines are the be all end all. Like, oh, you got to get the shingles vaccine. You got to get this vaccine. You got to get the vaccine. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, maybe not. And so the difference, the big difference between you and Cooper, which is, was like the family aspect of, because it looks like you joined a big family, but at the same time, you don't just you get more numbers, like the embarrassing things we have to do or stool. No sense, because Dr. Oop, like, I mean, if you want to see what's going on the inside, you gotta see what's coming out.
Yeah.
And so
You got to collect it.
Literally the first doctor that I've ever seen that ever even mentioned anything about a gut.
Yeah.
Ever.
Sadly, that's true in a lot of functional medicine practice. Well, you had seen a couple functional medicine-ish people before, and they hadn't mentioned it. And it's the number one focus.
But you unashamedly dig very deep and make it very comfortable, very uncomfortable. Like,
Minus the second nasal swab.
But you've got to check those things, and I know it's uncomfortable. And what's interesting too is that, us as guys, well, you're not used to being poked and prodded as much as women are, because women seem to be like more kind of used to that, but men were not.
Yeah.
But you kind of take it to a level that we really get checked out.
Yeah.
And so then once we have 100% of that data, not 65 or 75%, we have that. What do you want to do with it?
Yeah. You got a
Where
decision to
do
make.
we go? What are your ailments? What are your problems? And mine happen to be plaque and energy, that kind of thing. But we obviously are heading in the right direction now.
Yep. Yeah. Kristen, anything to add to that series?
Just thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a take-home message there is, I'll steal this from Dr. Snee, like, you don't know what you don't test. And in today's world of functional medicine, we have a long ways to go, but there's so much more testing. Like, I really admire the pioneers in functional medicine that was doing this 20 and 30 years ago. It's hardly acceptable now, but 20 and 30 years ago, they were diagnosing candida and things and didn't even have a test. They were just saying, oh, we think this is happening. Here's a treatment. And so pioneers in medicine, nowadays I can prove most of the things that I'm going to try to diagnose you with. So, all right. So we did a lot of testing, all kinds of testing, as you said. And we commonly say, if you make it, we'll collect it and test it.
Right. It's a good thing.
We don't, about the only thing we don't collect is tears and sweat yet. We're not doing that yet. That's all right.
Everything else going. Every easy one, get prepared.
Poke you in the eye and like, all right. So yeah, tell us a bit about your initial experience with the treatments to these tests, with the pills and potions, we call them, the nutritional plan that I'm sure Cerise has questions about. And yeah, tell us about that.
Kristen, we'll start.
Biocide.
No, she jumped straight to the B word.
I wasn't thrilled about it. I was terrified the thought of it because it was, it's a series of supplements, very regimented, and I just
So back up. So we know what biocidin is, and we joke about it in the practice, but give people listening why some fear with biocidin?
She likes it.
Now she does.
I absolutely love it. Absolutely.
We do too.
Yeah, and because it I could feel that it was repairing my gut. And
So yeah, it's a gut
that's
supplement.
major mood change. And when I went through 2 of them, I can't wait to do the 3rd.
Isn't that crazy to think? Just that fact alone, I treated my gut and my mood got better. I mean, you could literally say in this room, I treated my gut and blank got better, and we'd say, yep, we believe it because we have seen it all. My vision has gotten. Didn't you get a vision? Or that was with an infusion or something? Didn't your vision improve?
Just about everything's improved. But you're right. I mean, it's amazing that with a gut, think about like from the other standpoint, like if you've got a sour stomach,
Yeah.
you're not going to be in a great mood.
True.
You're going to want to be. And so like, I mean, it's the same as worth on, as it makes sense on the other side. We feel good. You can articulate better, like it's better I'm doing right now.
So biocidin, Kristen, continue with your horror story.
Well, I mean, I think it was just the fear in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because, I didn't want to mess it up. And it's 6 weeks.
And for most people, 6+. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And, it depending on what's going on, depends on if if it's going to make you tired or feel a certain way. And I'm very sensitive to certain supplements. And it was a night and day difference. And while I was scared at the beginning, I'd say within 3 days, I was like, okay.
This works for me. And then that's one of those treatments that we warn everyone that it is very likely you will get worse before you get better. And that's a tough thing to say, especially in medicine. There's not very often that you go to a doctor and like, we're going to take this pill. You're going to feel worse, but then you're going to feel better. So that's a tough, bitter pill for people to swallow when they join functional medicine. And it makes sense. Like Bobby mentioned, we often tell people going from 0 miles a day on a treadmill to 1 mile a day on a treadmill is way harder than going 5 miles to 6 miles, right? Same distance change, but 0 to 1 is a lot harder than 5 to 6. So as you get in functional medicine, you got to change your nutrition and you got to take these supplements, and these supplements make you worse before better. Like, what's that about? But we should always have an explanation for why that happens, and an expectation is set before you do that, so that that's already what we expect. And if it happens the way we expect it, then that means it's working.
That's
But then you're supposed to figure out that there. So rightfully said.
But I tell patients that all the time. I'm preparing you for a monster, and I'm hoping it's a kitten.
Yeah, we're gonna like that. I like that one.
I love that. I'm going to use that one.
And so, Bobby, what about your treatment? How did the early days of treatment go for you and make you feel?
Yeah. Obviously, it was a very gradual thing for me. I didn't wake up one morning and just feel like pound your chest and just like
Fly off.
It was a very gradual thing, but yeah, I said that so much of it was a mental thing too. That
Absolutely.
I have to like this because you have to stay the course, and just like any change in life or any new direction is that you have to be dedicated to it and realize, like you said, there's going to be some dips along the way. You're not going to feel as great. And biocidin for me, she liked it more than I liked it. And I didn't dislike it, but it was
Your set was in better shape than mine, though.
You're right. It was.
Especially after the triple antibiotic.
Yeah.
Cellulitis event.
Yeah, that was a lot of recovery, but I also had a lot of mitochondria damage too. That was from all the statins and CoQ10 and everything. So, but yeah, but I had to
And
say-
stress. You haven't mentioned stress a single time, but suffice to say, Bobby's drank from the stress
Yeah,
fire hose for a long
Yeah,
time
there was a lot
before
of
today.
Yeah, and alcohol did not play a good role in that, and that obviously does a lot of damage and everything. But I have nothing but good things to say long term about biocidin. I mean, it's something that you just have to do. You have to get your gut in shape.
The Biocide, we don't own any stock in Biocide. I'm sure the rep is really happy right now.
Yeah, but you have to get your gut shit because, like we said right off the bat, is that nothing happens until your gut's healthy.
Absolutely.
Nothing.
So since we're talking about gut and supplements, that's most of what I do. But Cerise, what is most of what you do with nutrition, and how was y'all's experience with nutrition? I know y'all didn't work with Cerise in the beginning here, but
Yeah.
how was your experience with nutrition and food planning and change and all that? How'd that go? How'd you feel?
It was, once again, it wasn't like we weren't we weren't eating fried chicken, and we weren't. I mean, we were trying to
Man,
be healthy.
we found a restaurant. We were gonna have to take you guys. We found a restaurant with fried chicken, as Laura told you already.
The occasional thing is good.
Gluten-free fried chicken with caviar. I didn't say it's good for you.
Yeah, I can't. You gotta have the old oil here.
Popeyes.
I just want to note here that he started asking how well y'all were doing. And then he's like, oh, I need to take you to this restaurant.
But it was gluten free.
That means healthy, right?
In front of the nutrient.
I'm sorry. I'll edit that part out.
I can't remember what the question was.
Talking about how nutrition, because you guys didn't start off with me. We had a different nutritionist at the time, and we haven't met extensively. We've met a few times, but not like a lot. But I know you guys made not a lot of changes. You came in with a pretty good nutritional foundation, just learning some different things that may have sort of pushed on in a different direction. So I think what he was asking was what kind of things made a difference for you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kristen.
I'm thinking
Mm.
because there's so many.
Or just the biggest aha moment when it came to nutrition.
Just literally the difference in the heady mouth, the heady mouth component of it. Because then all the food was like, oh, well, now this makes sense. That's what I love about y'all's practice is, I mean, you may watch ER, you may see all these things on TV, stuff, but most people don't understand it.
Exactly.
And
Which drive me crazy, by the way. Laura cannot watch medical shows with me because I'm like, that's just Chris. That's not even real.
ER. This is like naked. I need.
So like,
My George Clooney at all.
Well, to answer your question, I'm sorry, but to answer your question is like my thoughts are that blood doesn't lie,
Ooh.
yeah.
and
Ooh, that's a good quote.
yeah, it is. Yeah. So no matter what you say you're doing,
Mm.
and doc, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and your blood says you have this obvious deficiency or you have this area that needs attention and everything. So, and what supplementation was that it. I didn't believe my blood work almost. What do you mean I'm so low in B and so low in D and everything? I feel fine. But when with your help and with like identifying these low points and or these areas that I need to make improvements and these suggestions that you offer, these incremental ways that I do feel better because of adding these things. Like I couldn't believe I needed more B. I'm like, what do you mean? All right, take one supplement, we'll take two.
Right.
Or like with this. And so you start once again. For me, I never had this like moment that was like it just like a light switch. It was just all a gradual thing and filling in these gaps with supplements in areas that once we do the in-depth, once you did all the in-depth blood work and saw where I was deficient in those areas, and when we filled those gaps in, once again, I feel even better. I'm able to, my thinking is better, my digestive is better. I mean, just about every part of me is better. My energy level is better. I sleep better.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
that was the other component was MTHFR.
Mm-hmm.
Jan telling me about that because it was, I mean, just as meaningful as the heavy metals portion of it, like none of it really works if your body's not detoxifying.
Yes.
And so that was a big component of the nutrition aspect for me, was learning that my parents were gracious enough to give me 2 copies. I have a
Kind of thing.
yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
70% reduced
Mm-hmm.
ability to detox. And so for supplementing and supporting that pathway was a huge factor with nutrition. I'll totally agree with that.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like becoming aware for ourselves. It's almost like if you were diagnosed with a disease, then you become a student of that disease.
Yep.
And you study it and you try to learn as much as any physician would learn in that, because this is your and the hard reality is that no one cares about your body as much as you do.
Completely agree.
And you're a great doctor, everything, but
Yeah.
but I live in my body.
Exactly.
You gave
People know more about their diseases than I do, and that's okay. And I often use that, like, hey, you need to go and look this up because I need you to know, or I need to know whether this resonates with you or not. Like, if I tell you MTHFR is doing this, and you're like, nope, I looked it up, all those check boxes did not meet me, or you come back and be like, oh my gosh, that's a much bigger deal for me than I thought because I check all the check boxes. And so it should always be that way. It should be learning about your own body because, like you said, you're in it. And the more you know, the more it motivates you to do something, right?
You're right. And you can't appoint somebody to study your body. I mean, yeah, you can have someone give you their thoughts about your numbers and everything, but you need to become like a student of you.
Yeah.
And that's where I became a
Challenge your doctor.
you do. And you really try to make sure this uh, I like to think of it like as when we're born, we're given a car.
Mm-hmm.
And that car has got
Of course you make about cars, right?
I love cars. But like you're given a car when you're born, and you got to make that car last your whole life.
Oh,
You can't
Yeah.
trade it in.
no.
So wherever you do to it, wherever you feed it, whatever you give it, however you abuse it when it's in its early life and everything, you can remember you're not getting another car.
No.
And that's what I have. We have one body that we're going to use, and we have to know how everything works on it because you know what, my body's so different than anyone sitting at this table right
Yeah.
now. But I have to be, and that's where Kristen. I was very fortunate because I relied on other people to find that information for me. Like, what's wrong with me? What do I need to take? Oh, take this. Okay, I'll take something like that. But I've really through both for Kristen especially, and then through your practice, is that to really study me and then come to you with specific questions about me and not put the burden of my health on you. I know what I need to do. You're giving me the information I need to do, and what do I choose to do with it? And that's to do everything I can to be as healthy as I can, to live a happy. Because as trite as it sounds, I mean, health is wealth.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You can have how much money you have in the bank. If you're not feeling healthy and you can't get up and around, I mean, you're being robbed of life.
Yep. And by the time you get to that point, it's so hard to reverse. It's not irreversible at that point, but the more decrepit you get, to use a car metaphor, I often tell people like it's better to change the oil than wait till the car's on cinder blocks because it's a lot less to maintain than it is to completely restore the car back to life, which actually you've done multiple times is restore the car back to life. Right?
That's my relaxation. That's
That takes a long time.
Yes, it does. But a lot easier to maintain it and keep it in good running shape, right?
But as we know, with doing all the work and all the in-depth tests that you said that only you have done, and I've probably had, I don't know, probably eight concierge type doctors in my 60 years, and you're the first one to go to the levels that you have. And then once we identified what those areas of concern that I have, adding supplementation and or a program to write those paths.
And then retest to prove that what we did work. I mean, yes, clinically speaking, you felt better, which is always important. But number two is like, hey, we found a problem. Here's the treatment. We retested the problem. And that's one of my beefs with functional medicine is oftentimes you go see a functional medicine doctor and they say, oh, here's your problems. Here's your supplements. See you later. And you're just on that treatment forever. And that's not what we like to do. Yes, there are some personal weaknesses like MTHFR and whatnot that you may have to be on lifetime, but let's fix the gut. Keyword fix, not let's sustain the gut with this probiotic forever. Let's fix the gut so that you can come off of the treatment and survive on your nutrition. So what were some of the, I like to kick it back to Cerise because I think I keep taking the mic is, what were the nutritional changes that you guys made that made the biggest impact that maybe others would be questioned like, oh, there's just a fan diet. Like, what did y'all change that you continue to this day to keep doing because it worked for you?
Food allergies.
Ooh.
That was another factor. Hold on, it's coming back to me. But I didn't realize that there were things I would love that I was allergic to.
That's the worst.
Oh, it was
It's
depressing.
so cliche too.
Coffee and chocolate. So cruel.
Those came up with my sensitivities. I'd choose denial.
I like that better. But then you get the gut component,
Yeah.
and now those things I'm not allergic to.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's just amazing because you're told your whole life, oh, well, you just have this allergy, just jam up it.
Yeah.
And from what y'all have proven, that's not the case.
I'd like to say mold was one thing.
It's a dirty word I love. Let's talk about mold.
Yeah, and then because identifying different areas that where we had mold in our house,
Mhm.
getting that situation like
Yeah.
getting it tested.
And you had no idea before, right? Was something we brought to y'all's attention? Yeah, likewise, same.
I was busy taking Allegra because I thought it was just, like I just had allergies,
Yeah.
whatever. And it was some mold that was present. And we have a newer house too.
Yeah.
And that's it. The house only like 5 years old.
You know, Tony's 16, newly renovated, and had no idea that we had mold.
Yes.
I mean,
I don't remember the story. Where was it?
under the sink.
And there's
So cliche too.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
that. And then also too, one thing that a lot of our family thought we were crazy up until recently is that we got rid of all our non-sticks. But we're cooking with steel
Glass.
and learning how to
Glass.
coffee and glass mugs can end up. Most coffee cups are made in China and they had a different firing method or whatever, and so there's more lead in that, and so it just going and a lot of little things
Yep.
Yeah.
with ever. But I think mold recognition was probably a game changer. Because not only is it really gross, but at the same time, like we, for example, found that my grandson was having some issues, and we're trying to find out what his
Mhm.
problem was.
We're still in the middle of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but one of the big things that they found out was that they and not being great parents because of course learning to sleep in a bed and heading to bed they put the bottom mattress in one of those airtight waterproof zip liner.
Yeah.
And then she was wondering why he was not feeling well and had some issues, whatever. She was, I think this, I don't know how she noticed it. Anyway, she noticed it and she went to unzip it and it was just covered in mold.
The mattress was
The box springs.
because it was. How did it get wet from the urine?
Well, I don't think so. I think it trapped in the moisture because it was in box springs and it was a waterproof, and it was gone through the water.
Interesting.
See the mold go through the waterproof cover and had gone into the mattress.
She's not a bad, I mean, she's a great, but
Of course,
but
yeah.
you're just trying to do the
Didn't know.
healthiest thing to seal it. But and so that just recently has been rectified. But I think how they think that we get kind of crazy, like look for mold, look for these things,
Yeah.
cook from steel plant, learn
Yeah.
how to learn how to cook from different temperatures,
Yeah.
and so a lot of little things that I think pretty much everything I'm saying here is like I didn't have like. It's not like taking Ambien like after 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of those like just sudden things. Everything has been very gradual, and I think that
My journey too.
and yeah, well, good. And then so like with my children and with our grandchildren, I think we're getting more credibility because they're seeing us. They're not listening to what our words are saying, but they're seeing our energy levels. They're seeing the way we think, the way we act, and as you know, now we've been doing this for 5 years with you. Now they're just remember they're wanting to get into
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We've
seen them. I've met them.
because we want to be like Bobby
Right.
Roasted. So
They don't want to.
They come down from Dallas.
Yeah, they did. Made 2 trips already.
yeah, so I mean, but and I think that's what our goal is to lead by example to show. Hey, but we're not telling you what to do, but
Yep.
this has worked for us.
Yeah.
And we've been down these paths and whatever. We haven't found any sort of relationship that works like it does with medical.
Mhm. Now you guys have raised the bar really high to tell your children, like, "Hey, you got to bring that bar down a little bit." I don't know if I can meet that bar. That's actually kind of a perfect moment to ask, like, what were some of the hardest moments going through this process of nutrition, supplement, whatever? And then what did each of you use as your motivation? Because that's one of the things we're taught in functional medicine and stuff is the motivational interviewing, because you got to have that fire under you. And most people think it's like, well, I don't want to die, or I don't want to be sick, or I don't want to feel this way. And that's usually not the motivator that really kicks you into changing. It's the I want to be this, or I want to be this for someone else, or whatnot. So, what was the hardest moment for each of you going through this process? And the hardest moment doesn't just mean worse side effects. It could mean like, oh, I really didn't want to take this drink or swallow these pills. What was kind of the hardest mental challenging moment before you really knew about the benefits and things? And then what did you use to motivate through that? Oh, he looked at you first, Kristen. That means you got to answer.
Pressure. The two of you, it's a triple motivator for me. Yeah, because one, my mother and her obesity, losing her at 55, colon cancer, had diabetes, hypertension, everything. You could, and over 400 pounds.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be a prisoner in my body.
Mhm. That's a powerful statement right there. Just let that hang. Prisoner in your own body.
Because she couldn't do things. There's
Yeah.
certain things she couldn't go to, whether she was embarrassed or, physically couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I missed out on that with my mom.
Yeah.
And
Alive, but not.
yeah, exactly. And I didn't want that for my future. And you can lead a horse to water that it's not necessarily going to drink. Unfortunately, I lost her too soon. But I'd say that if it ever gets difficult, it's between the two of y'all, between you, Dr. Uru, and my husband, is the motivation to keep going. Obviously, wanting to live for him, but just the way that you talk me through it. And when I have questions, you're willing to answer. You'll even go over the appointment time so that
I do that a lot. It means someone else is waiting, but
But you're not just
everyone gets used to it.
you're not just sitting there with a prescription pad, like, here you go,
Right.
fine. And you'll answer my questions. And it helps me understand it and put the puzzle together. And so thank you both for that.
Of course.
Yeah, my moment was it. Did you get all three?
Yeah.
Okay. So my moment was when my dad took his shirt off one time, and I'd seen how I was real proud of his bypass scar. I walked down and like saw that whole thing, and it just reminded me like I don't want that.
Yeah.
I mean that seems so like caveman kind of
Yeah.
kind of like repair process there. And I knew that was kind of inevitable. And so my motivation once again was my children and my grandchildren, our two grandsons already. And so not only my three children, like are they all just destined to have heart disease?
Right.
By a certain number, you're gonna have a bypass. Hopefully they find a better way of doing it.
Right.
That was my motivation. I mean, that was just my children. And my children and grandchildren. I want to crack the code to this. And I've noticed it. I'm going to crack the code to this.
Yeah.
And I honest to goodness believe it's heavy metals.
Yeah, that's a significant piece that we keep kicking the can down the road. So, what questions? Because we could talk about heavy metals for a long time. What questions are you sitting on, Cerise? Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that one. The NAD infusions.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So this is sort of a two part
So many
question.
questions.
So people hear you did. Bobby did extensive NAD infusions, but like 10 of them? 5. Okay. I think a few more
Which
times.
is plenty.
Yeah, back to back.
Maybe 6.
Yeah, and a lot of people think of that as like it's a big topic right now, and they think of it as like the fountain of youth. So one, I want you to talk about what your experience was with those infusions, because they're known to be pretty gnarly. And then two, I want both of you to sort of think about if you could only keep one of the interventions that you did here at this practice, which one would it be? Why? Why would you keep that?
Did ChatGPT come up with that question? Because that's a good one. That was like 4 questions.
That first question, the question you had asked me, Doctor, was what was the toughest? NAD was the toughest. Yeah, and I've only done 2 infusions.
Don't discount too.
Where I messed up though is I'm not trying to, match him. I go from 500. My first one, I would have been okay with that. I sat, filled up. But then I was like, yeah, I could do 1,000.
Uh-huh. 8 hours later.
Like, can I come back? But then you're over here, Mr. Overachiever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and that was tough, no doubt. First time in, but I think 2 nausea pills. Yeah,
The pre-treat.
no, he was pivotal 2 nausea pills, so it takes that off. But yeah, it's. I went from a 500 milligram bag, of course, IV. And I think that's the best way of doing it.
Yeah, it
So there
is.
are options, but
Yeah,
it is the most.
It's king.
And then so I did 500 milligram bag, 750, and 1,000, like 3 years in a row. And then I did follow up with a few more thousands after that. And that's we didn't. I know there's no test to like say that you're full.
Yeah.
I mean, you're fine. So last NAD I did was pretty painless,
Okay.
fairly painless. And I went with my son and we did it. And he's over there just sick to his stomach. I'm asking Arlinda, could you step on the gas behind a little bit more? But I have to say that, I mean, I think you both know what I think of NAD. It's just like.
It was a game changer for you.
That's a wow.
It was unlocking another, because by the time you did NAD plus recently, right? Just last year or so? Was it longer than that?
Last 6 months.
So you guys had already been kind of through many of our treatment stuff. We're already feeling mostly better, and then just kind of, yeah, that was icing. But it definitely unlocked another feature,
Yeah.
new
So
achievement.
I think you noticed a lot of changes,
Yeah.
like with my cognizance and my thinking and my memory. And
It's definitely that was a night and day difference, and
Mhm.
I'm surprised that's not your light bulb.
Yeah.
Literally, it was like a light bulb.
it was building. Yeah, it was building. Yeah, no doubt about it. But yeah, so the NAD treatments, you feel awful. It's not
Mhm.
something first,
It's real.
but at the same time,
Tell people they need to know.
good, because I know that all the mitochondrial damage I did from not taking CoQ10, I was on these like massive amount of statins. I did all this damage.
Yeah.
And so all that burning sensation and whatever, and the tightness, whatever, wasn't working.
Yeah.
And it was working, and it was working really well.
Nice.
And so, but just like anything, like, if you're exercising and you're pushing yourself on the bike and you're just almost, ready to throw up, and you're just
Mhm.
trying to get that last little bit of, to hit your goal.
Yeah.
It's just the same thing.
That's it.
You just fight through it, and
Just this time you're sitting in a chair and we're giving you the infusion.
yeah, but it's going to something good. It's not going to
Yeah.
pointless.
Yeah.
Pointless. It's not pointless discomfort.
Right.
It is like it's going toward repairing. And the nice thing about NAD is the moment that you're through with it, it's like you get this wave of like, okay now.
Yeah. Yeah. Not only not sick. Yeah. Wow. The last drop, you feel every drop.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then also too, then if I start like feeling sorry for myself as I'm going through this treatment, I think the poor people there are like going through chemo, like,
Oh yeah.
all like that, and all these things, that this is something is just very tolerable in
Yeah.
comparison to other things. And I'm doing something that, yeah, my body doesn't like, but it wants it.
Yeah.
And
They're taking a poison to survive, and y'all are taking a poison, quote unquote, to thrive.
Exactly.
And that's different. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why I think when I start feeling sorry for myself, I think that, yeah, this is doing nothing but,
Mhm.
but NAD, I'm a big believer in NAD plus,
Mhm.
a big believer.
I'm trying. I'm really trying.
Supposedly, you may have trouble believing this, but we had an NFL player that said they would compete in the locker room for who could get 1,000 milligrams the fastest. Do you know who? I don't know who held the record, but you know what the timing was for 1,000 milligrams?
Unreal.
1,000 milligrams, how long?
12 minutes.
How is he still alive?
Right? And then after I heard that story, I then started hearing stories of a doctor that was doing this, and he was trying to convince patients to do it. I don't know how good of an idea this was, but basically just loading it all into a syringe and pushing it in an instant. And basically, he says he just curls up in a ball, absolutely miserable for about a minute, and then boop, it's done.
Oh,
The whole 1,000 milligrams and an IV push.
Absorb it better over like.
I think so. I think that's just bragging rights. Like there's a balance between like we're doing this just for fun and competition, and like we're doing this for our health. So yeah, there's only so much. Your kidneys and liver are designed to dump things. So it's simple pharmacodynamics. The more you give someone at once, the more they waste immediately.
Mhm.
That's just a piece of it. And so we don't want to keep people in our infusion room forever. So there's a balance between like giving it slow enough that you get as much benefit as you can, and giving it too fast where your liver just wastes it. So yeah, there's definitely a component there. But if you ever want to try, that's the record.
Yeah. I'm not gonna rate that. I think my best was like an hour and 15 minutes.
And that's hard. It takes me about 3 hours to get 1,000. I can't do it faster.
Just grab your iPad, I mean, what you have things set up over here. You got a little mini Admirals Club set up.
Yeah.
And we're just like, everything.
Suffer in silence.
Yeah. So just go over there to set up in their little lobby, which is like an Admirals Club, and just kind of set up and do your work. And
you always look so happy and fine. I'd walk around like, isn't he doing anything?
yeah.
How was that possible?
My cheeks sweat. That's after I took the nausea pill.
Yeah, that's the pre-treat.
Please take some nausea pills.
I've not tried that, so, and I haven't done NAD in a while, so I knew
That's at least my key.
Yeah.
So great question.
So you guys, wait, did you ask
I
a
have
third
that
part
one.
question?
I
Yeah, what was
just-
that? Oh yeah,
The one intervention, if you could only keep one from this practice, which one would you pick and why?
that was it.
Heavy metal chelation, yeah.
Because it's key to my
Yeah.
heart disease.
That's a perfect segue. So that's been a key smoking gun for you, both of you guys. Now y'all are married, and so I know y'all have a lot of heavy metals, and apparently children and stuff do also. So I just warning everyone that not everyone has this many heavy metals. This is a smoking gun for both of you guys. It just happens to be both of you guys because we don't know when you got it. Could have been in childhood, completely separately before you were married. Could have been after marriage. Kristen could be poisoning Bobby and then poisoning herself. Who knows?
Very possible.
And she had a change of heart. Now she's bringing it back to life. Savior complex.
But I'm the one with arsenic poisoning, so
Oh, well, the knives thrown.
Ah.
So, yeah, so let's talk heavy metals. First of all, how did you even find out you have heavy metals?
you.
Oh, well, thanks.
I had no idea. I had no idea there was
Yeah.
an issue. I mean, I don't think I played with mercury as a kid. I had friends that played with mercury. Sorry, I'm turning my head. But I know I lived off tuna fish for a long time and in college, and then also too, I had bad dental work, and a lot of metal in my mouth.
We
and
both
everything.
had mercury
Mhm.
gutlings.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So just that first test, when you do before you do the I guess
Provoked.
kick the pile or provoke the chicks out. I don't know, like the shake the snow globe. But yeah, it didn't appear, but it was just all hidden around me, and I realized that in my non-doctor opinion that we don't have a cholesterol problem. My family doesn't. My family has a heavy metals problem in which our body's holding on to heavy metals, and that's what the problem is over
You
time.
keep passing it from generation to generation.
It just
Yeah.
builds up and builds up, and
Cerise just pulled up your numbers.
we're not getting rid of it, and that's what's causing. I mean, cholesterol is there. Is at the scene of the crime, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not the problem.
Correct.
But is being accused of being.
Correct. Correct. And y'all had both lead and mercury. Those were kind of both your smoking guns, right? And so, unfortunately, you guys had a lot of it over time. And most of our patients, 10 infusions, 20 is usually the most people have to do. And you guys are up to how many infusions each?
55.
Yeah, and she just pulled up your most recent levels, and it is looking better. But your levels at number 50 are like what most people's are on number 1. So this has been one of your smoking guns, and so the process, like you mentioned, is fairly simple. You pee in a cup before, then we give an infusion to push it out of you or kick the pile, and see what comes out, and that tells us how much more is inside. So surprisingly, when I got into functional medicine, chelation was one of the main things I was scared of. I thought people were going to drop dead and have all these side effects, and I was so scared of chelation. Changing someone's nutrition, taking gluten out of their diet, that didn't scare me at all. But giving someone chelation was the scariest thing I did. It was probably the slowest thing I introduced in my practice. And now it's probably one of the fastest things we do because it's like one of the easiest things to do. It's easier than changing your nutrition. It's easier than taking supplements. It's usually very well tolerated. So tell people, not just from me, because I sell it, what's y'all's experience with chelation? And be honest, people need to hear the truth. Like, what was your experience doing the infusions? And like, what are we doing here? What is this stuff they're giving me in my veins?
I can't say that I was scared.
Okay,
I
good.
was not scared because I was ready
Yeah.
to make a change, and I mean, I trusted you and everything.
Luckily, that worked out.
And seeing the lab results, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, what should I do?
Yeah.
And it was like that 8th one.
Mhm.
That's what sold me.
And that's the scary part. 8th one out of 50. So I think that's a good take home message for people too. You don't have to wait until everything's reversed in order to feel better. It's just like the body's so good at compensating that a lot of times. So I use the example of like when people tell us, well, why do I do this and that? So like, do you think that when a person has a heart attack, they're like, oh, it was the last McDonald's I ate. It was that one cheeseburger that did it. No, everyone knows it was the 20 and 30 years of cheeseburgers before that built up the problem. And then you finally had a problem. And so same thing with treatment. Your body's so good at compensating that it can compensate with years and years and years of McDonald's before it shows you a problem. But at the same time, just taking off a little bit, taking off the edge, your body starts compensating again, and then you feel mostly good, even though the problem's not done. So of course, you guys are motivated to get as much of it out as possible. So even after the eighth one, you've kept going, obviously. So tell us more about that process. Like why keep going? And if you feel good, what's the purpose?
Because it's a like it's been consistent result. It's not like, oh well, you kind of, for me, I haven't plateaued. There's always some sort of benefit with each round of chelation that we've done. I The only negative I have right now is I'm not tolerating glutathione very well,
Mm-hmm.
but we're working through that.
Yeah, figuring it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just have such a desire to fix my heart
Mhm.
disease issue for my family. And when after the first couple of series that we did, after about 20, I think, because I was committed to the courses, and I believed in that if I did this, then I would get this result. I believed in that.
Yeah.
And so I had the mental imagery that it was going to come down, and the way I envision, if it's accurate or not, I envision like heavy metals, not as smooth little river stones that here going. I consider if you're microscopically, probably like shards of glass going through
Yeah.
your system and everything. I want that out of me. I want
Yeah.
all the heavy metals out of me. And so when, not to sound repetitive, but once I had a coronary artery thing and I saw my salt plaque was gone
Mhm.
and that my heavy metals number was going from an obscenely high number down to single digits
Yeah.
after, I mean, it's worth it.
Yep.
It's worth it.
Proving a button.
Am I feeling better? Am I whatever like that? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's one of the many things that are contributing. Once again,
Yeah.
this is like we said, it's not a diet, it's not whatever. This is just a lifestyle.
It's the everything.
You change,
Mhm.
you change it up, and this is one of the. And like we said, uh, if it got down to one, it would be chelation because that's going to be the key to my longevity is chelation, in my opinion.
Love it. I could talk to you guys forever, and we're gonna bore people if we go on too long. So I've got some rapid fire questions that are always fun to wrap up on to see what the answers are. So let's see what we've got. Well, I think I know the answer to this one. Coffee or tea?
Black coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah. Bobby's getting coffee at dinner always making me jealous.
I go to bed looking forward to my cup of.
Morning person or night owl? Oh, that's one I don't hear often.
Morning.
Yeah, I figured Bobby would be. Favorite supplement you're taking? Oh,
Yeah. That's awesome.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I hope you're always gonna say diva. Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What's one non-negotiable part of your day now? Mm.
No, if I haven't, because I kind of have to like.
Work on me.
Yeah.
What is it? We're not. I mean, tolerate Bobby. It means like
Movement.
Movement.
Yeah.
Some
Great.
some commitment to exercise.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I got one. Favorite go-to dinner that fits your plan and still feels indulgent.
Ooh. Gosh, that's
Sushi.
a
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, but that doesn't because it's bulls.
Oh, that's true.
Rice arsenic.
I know. That's
Yeah.
Rice is hard. I don't think anything that I do that's indulgent is on my plan.
Let me be honest.
Yeah.
Cookies.
rice.
Yeah. Loves rice. Every now and then.
Okay, I want to wrap up on one last question. Anything else you want to give them?
I'm good.
Okay. So I remember once I was driving down the road. This was when I was still a conventional medicine doctor, driving down the road and listening to the radio. And not that anyone does that these days. And they were doing if you could give yourself 2 words of advice, what would you have done? What would you tell your 20-year-old self? And some dude on the radio called in and said, celiac disease. Now, knowing what I know now, I'm like, duh. But this dude, this is before I really even knew what celiac disease was. And I went through med school. Okay. Ashamed to say that. And he said, yes, because, and this is on the radio. This was not a medical radio show. This was a regular pop Austin station, whatever it was. And the radio host was taking a bit back and was like, why? And he goes, because I've been sick for 10 years and no doctor diagnosed me. And that's all it took was someone to say the words celiac disease, and my life would have been different 10 years ago. So I just wanted to tell that story and ask a follow-up question of, if you could tell your younger self one piece of advice, and anyone listening, what would it be? And you have to have separate answers. What would it be?
Oh.
Ooh, Bobby had a quick, yeah, but Bobby's got an answer.
Pick your battles.
Ooh, I like that. That was a quick answer. There was not much thought time, Kristen.
I read that.
Feedback system.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I have to think about that one.
Yeah.
I have to think about that one.
Mine, ironically, in the long run, has become gluten. I did not ever expect that, not to mention that this radio guy saying celiac disease. So one of my rapid reversal things, one of my few light bulb moments in transitioning from conventional medicine to functional medicine. And I have probably the slowest journey into functional medicine because I changed it as I learned it. It took me a while to learn it because I had no one to teach me. And the thing that continues to surprise me to this day, I had chronic right shoulder pain for 8 years. 8 years. I stopped wearing my wallet in my right side of my pants because I couldn't reach back there. Couldn't even brush my teeth sometimes with my right hand, which, by the way, if you try to brush your teeth with your left hand, you brush your nose, you brush your cheeks, you brush all kinds of things. Yeah, so I got pretty good at it. And my doctor at the time had no answer for me, and I refused to do surgery. And I did not give up gluten for my right shoulder pain. But after giving up gluten, I kid you not, if it hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't believe it. 2 weeks after giving up gluten, my right shoulder pain completely went away.
Absolutely.
What the shoulder pain? No one would have ever connected those
Just
things.
gluten.
Just gluten. And weirdly enough, as I've gotten better and better at getting rid of it, and after I married a celiac, I got even better at removing it. And now it is one of my main triggers. It does so many things to me, from acne to hair acne to total gut blow up and everything in between. So yeah, gluten was mine. Cerise, you wanna? And yours says not Cerise.
I'm sorry to my Siri. No, mine's probably more in line with Bobby's. Just like forgive others, not for them, but for yourself.
Ooh, that's deep. Bobby looked like he had something he wants to close us out on. Or is it Chris?
So let's see, are we talking medical?
Whatever you or anything.
Well, because
Tell me more.
and I was thinking probiotics.
Ah.
I've been told as a younger self, take as many probiotics.
Because in 2015, you're gonna go cycling for the first time.
I'd like to say one last thing is that you don't fix us. You give us the information for us to fix ourselves.
Love that.
And that, we never have had a physician or an office be so cooperative and partner-ish with us to find what we need to find, and what we do with that information is up to us, because we got to do the work.
Yep.
And we both are very willing to do the work. It's been a lifestyle change. Yeah, you're right. I went from 238 pounds to 175 pounds.
And like ripped, and he's not allowed to be better looking or more ripped than his doctor. So we're gonna be fattening him up pretty soon.
My hair, right? The thing is, you gave us the information, and we had a hard time getting that. And then not only do you give us information, you give us solutions in order to try to find the results that we want to find. And the results we want is a long, healthy life, and to be able to be there for the ones that we love and to be productive. Thank you for that. Thank you, Food Medical, for that.
And thank you guys for coming today. I'm sure it's hard for people watching you guys to think that you were ever sick or ever not as beautiful as you are now. But you guys have had a truly wonderful journey, and thank you for being vulnerable and helping people. Hopefully people watching believe this and make changes, because this information is out there. Even if they never come to see us, one of the purposes of this video is to say you can find healing out there. Don't give up. And if your doctor's not helping you, find a new one. Exactly. There's called the internet now, and the doctors can see you all over the world. So figure it out.
Kiss frogs.
There you go. Perfect way to end it. That's it. Keep kissing frogs.